Good afternoon and welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. It feels like it's been forever since we talked to you. I mean, that is a 2-week break, and I got to be honest, it's been so long since I've taken one of those from all of this podcasting and writing stuff that, I almost went on overload with different ideas floating through my head for this show, to be honest with you. With me, as always, is my good friend Jim Stamm. How you doing today, brother?
Gary, I am good, and is it too early to say Happy New Year to everybody? We're there, kind
New
of,
Year's
right?
Eve, man. So
That's right.
No, it's not too early.
Good deal.
And we also have along for the ride today our good friend Graves. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jim and Gary. It's great to be back with you guys, and hope you both had a great holiday season. And it's nice to be back talking baseball.
Yeah, and I think it's supposed to rain on New Year's Eve, right? So that should be really exciting for light up night. Plus, couple that with all the Omicron nutbag stuff going on out in the world. And,
you know what? I'm inside, so it can rain all at once. I don't really care.
Yep, I'll be sleeping by 10 o'clock. I won't care either.
I will likely be sleeping by 10 o'clock with the intentions of staying up until midnight, but I'll probably start drinking earlier than I should, so chances are I won't make it. And I got my wife a whole bottle of rosé, which I hate. So I know she's going to crush that, and we'll be asleep by 10. So today I thought let's actually talk a little baseball today, huh? Let's talk about some remaking of the development system that the Pirates have been undergoing ever since Ben Cherington started here. And, they just announced some new hires, and we've seen the camps going on down there. It's starting to feel like some of it is taking hold a little bit. I'm starting to see some guys that were struggling with control, and they are posting videos now of them hitting their spots very consistently, not really dropping velocity. Some of the hitting philosophies seem to be taking off. I'm seeing different swing planes from some guys, and that's pretty encouraging to see in this early in the offseason, especially when nothing else is going on with baseball. But overall, all the moves that happen, like bringing in Dewey Robinson from Tampa Bay is obviously a good start, right? Grace, any thoughts on that? You've known about him for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was with the Rays for the past 12 years, decided he would step away or, now whether the Rays were okay with that or tried to get him to come back, I don't know. But I'm excited. Maybe he wanted a new challenge. And coming here to Pittsburgh, he obviously knows Derek Shelton pretty well with their time with the Rays. And I'm excited to have him on staff. I think the whole development system, I mean, it's been a process as well. When Ben Cherington came in, he was evaluating the front office and the staff just like he was with the players. And now we're starting to see these individuals get put into place and hopefully, to get the best out of the players, we need guys and gals to challenge themselves and get this thing rocking and rolling and going in the right direction.
Yeah, Jim, it's nice to see them hire somebody from an organization that's successful. A lot of the time you see this guy's been with this organization for 11 years. Oh, where was it? Oh, Arizona. Oh, okay.
Right.
That's not quite as sexy as Tampa Bay. So what are your thoughts on this, man? Is it good that they're harvesting from these teams like this, or is it weird because Tampa doesn't make mistakes and they let them go?
No, I think overall it's good. Look, how many times have we heard the Pirates talk about wanting to emulate what the Rays do? Certainly, I've heard it plenty of times. So I think when you look at it, does it Is it a little bit of a gut punch that we seem to get their coaches and they seem to get some of our players? I don't know about that trade-off, but
to be fair, they can have pretty much anyone they want right this second, just not Reynolds and Hayes, you know.
Yeah, we'll keep them off the table, but no, I mean, I think it's a good step in the right direction. Look, a few of these hires they made have been directly related to keep this development of this pitching going.
Right.
And we've talked ad nauseum about that. So I love it. Do I wonder how much? I think he's 60. Isn't he he's 60, 67 years old. He's not a spring chicken, but he certainly seems to have left his mark on that organization. So look, you got to get guys in that have had some success. I think he right away would get the respect of the players.
Even if he's only here for a couple of years and he just imparts knowledge on people that are here still, that's a good thing.
Sure.
I wanted to touch on, a couple of the other hires here too. Caitlyn Callahan, obviously interesting, first in uniform female coach for the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. Interned with the Reds, seems to be mostly a video and technology analyst, and the world needs those as well, certainly. And but it, the cool part of that is, it's a glass ceiling that is continuing to shatter in Major League Baseball. And that's kind of cool. I think we should at least mention it. What do you think of that, Graves?
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited to see a female get the job, but she has to prove her worth and do her job just like anybody else. So it's and a lot of times it's just about how you communicate and communicating to the players, and if she can get the job done. And I think it's going to be another exciting hire and probably something, that I wouldn't have thought that we would see, certainly with the last regime. So I'm excited. I'm happy for her and eager to see what she can do down there in Bradenton.
She looks pretty in shape. I think she could have handled Hoka Hay.
I think so.
I mean, Jim, obviously, you have a little boy, but if you had a little girl, I think you'd be pretty excited about this hire, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I was sitting here and I'm like, Gary, you better ask Graves this first. I want to hear what she has to say about it because but seriously, I always want to hear that first because for me, it's one of those things where I don't really care where the knowledge comes from. Graves even said it. She's going to have to prove herself just like anybody else. And I'd much rather have it be a part of the game moving forward to where someone like my son who's 5, he can come up and not even have it be a thing, where, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. That's my coach. That's not a male or a female. So exactly. I'm cool with it. You know what? But if she doesn't do her job, well, then it's just like everybody else, right?
I mean, here's the beauty of that position, though. Let's be honest. We'll never know if she does a good job or not. I mean, we'll just be told because, I mean, it's in that role, we're not going to hear or see what she's doing for the most part, I would imagine.
Very, very, very good point.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it too. I'm sorry to interject, but having her down in Bradenton, she's not really going to have the eyes on her that she maybe would here in Pittsburgh, and catching some flack if you will, and and so I think it's a good position for her to be in.
It's appropriate too. She's never been more than an intern.
Right.
So you're going to start down in single A, just like anybody else would, and I like that. I'm glad they didn't just give her. What I think some would probably consider a token role if they had put her as some kind of a special assistant to the assistant in AAA. I like that she's got a real job down there and work her way up the chain, and I think that's pretty cool. I do. Yeah. They also got the minor league fielding director, Chris Truby. They plucked him from the Phillies.
It's just who I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, and I think this is going to replace, I know it's minor league specific, but this is going to replace a little bit of what I think Joey Cora was kind of charged with in spring training, which was establishing some kind of a fielding training program. And they're hiring some more of these director level positions, and I think that's a good thing to kind of oversee these things in a more of a segmented approach. I mean, so what do you think of him, since you wanted to bring him up?
I mean, I don't know a ton about him. Like I said, or like you said, I think he's going to fulfill a lot of the duties in the role that Cora had. I don't know. Maybe do you either of you two have any more insight as to maybe what he's going to bring differently? Because other than what I know that he's going to do, I think he serves as a replacement more than anything.
All I can really say is he's got a lot of experience doing a lot of the same things in the Phillies organization, and he's done it for 14 years, 13
Right.
years. Started with the Pirates 14 years ago for one season. And, experience is good. I'm happy to see that a little more than I am like the guys who were just given a shot that maybe helped instruct in the Dominican League or something along those lines. I like getting some experience at this point and seeing if we can steal from other organizations a little bit of what's worked for them.
Yeah, I think anytime, I don't know if this is a Pittsburgh thing or if it happens in other cities, but how many times do we hear like, oh, it'd be great to get so and so back in the organization,
Yeah.
or how about someone that's been in the organization that we want to promote that used to be a player. Well, you know what? The Pirates have tried things their way for a lot of years. So I like the injection of new blood, new ideas, and maybe just a different way to go about things. So no, I don't need to see it come from within or guys that we may have had in the past in some kind of role, be it player or some coach. So I'm happy with it. They seem to be pouring a lot of resources into it. They're certainly not pouring it into the payroll right now. So got to take what you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And if he is brought in to replace Joey Cora in that aspect, I really hope they do away with that whole tire jumping exercise thing that they did last spring. That just scared me. And it's like, okay, someone's going to die doing this. I don't like it. So let's do
injury
it.
waiting to happen.
Yeah, so let's just do away with that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Colin Moran participated or not, but it didn't help groins.
Well, no. And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of tire hitting videos the last couple of days that maybe I'll send your way, Graves, that will further frighten you about what is going on in baseball these days.
And Jim, I bet it was the best swing you ever saw.
Oh, the best.
I'll tell you what, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. There's another hire I want to touch on, and then we'll move into another subject. All right, and we are back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. Graves, Jims, and Gary with you. And we are going to finish up talking about remaking the development system because the Pirates have been doing work in the only area they're allowed to do work in right now, really, which is the development system. So they finished rounding out their AAA squad by hiring Dan Meyer to replace Joel Hanrahan as the pitching coach. So the only holdover that I can see, at least that's publicly put forward, is John Nunnally, the hitting coach down there. What kind of an effect do we think that's going to have on some of these kids that are just hitting AAA for the first time? They're going to be walking into an almost entirely remade coaching staff. Does it matter? A lot of those guys just got pulled up in the first place. Graves, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I don't really see it as a negative. Supposedly what they're teaching at the major league level, we're teaching at all the other levels down the line. So it's just a different voice that's being introduced. John Nunley, I mean, he's still with the organization. He's going back down to Double A. I don't look at that as a demotion per se. Maybe he's just a better fit for those guys at that level. So I can't say that it is necessarily a negative thing.
Arguably the most important bats are going to be in Double A, right?
Absolutely, that's typically how it is. Your best team is there in Double A. So having his voice, I think it might even actually be a positive for the organization overall.
And Jim, I don't expect you to know who Dan Meyer is, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on his career. But he's been with the Braves since 2015, and they sure can pitch. So I mean, again, successful organization, plucking somebody with some experience. I likes that.
Yeah. First thing you think of is organization again. And then the little things that jump out at me about a guy like that is a little younger. I think he's 39, 40 years old. Former pitcher, former first-round pitcher, selected. Went through some injuries, cut his career short. So, look, do you have to play the game to know it? No. But do I like hearing things like that from guys that are going to be teaching other guys how to pitch?
Well, Deontay Johnson thinks you do.
Yes, excuse me. But no, I mean, those are just the little things. He's dealt with some high expectations. He's dealt with injuries. Those are things just from having been a player and then a coach, that those are the things that I like to see, because those are hard things to truly know about on the level that a guy like that would. And, is it a big thing? Maybe not. But I like seeing those types of things when I see who gets hired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's followed stuff I write or say for quite some time knows that I was no fan of Esposito as the head coach down there. So I'm not shedding any tears over that management team falling apart in AAA. And even Joe Hanrahan, I'm not sure that we can attribute anything grand to him either. So I don't feel like it was a major loss at all. I guess my only question is, if I was going to introduce a completely brand new management team to any level of this development system right now, I'm not sure AAA is where I'd play. I think I might be inclined to move everybody up a level instead and start this new team down a little bit lower, because I'm concerned about O'Neal Cruz still has some work to do, and I want the right people shepherding that so that he's ready to contribute when it's time. Roansy Contreras is deadly important to how quick this timeline actually accelerates. If he's a star pitcher, or even like a middle of the rotation pitcher, that is a humongous win for this organization. It makes them that much closer to actually turning the corner. So I guess I'm not sure I want to play in AAA. Does that change anything for you?
Well, one thought that I have, they still need to name a AAA manager, and supposedly it's coming from somebody within. So maybe it's going to be somebody from AA that's going to be promoted. So there's going to be at least that familiarity that we could look towards to maybe kind of ease the transition. And I'm waiting to hear who that might be. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
And what I would add to it is look, if they're not going to be spending right now on payroll, they better be damn well be spending on getting some very, very good instructional guys in here. Mm-hmm. And if they are doing that, which I don't know any of the numbers, and they are paying to get the guys they want in here to protect and develop some of these assets, that's what they should be doing. Now, are these guys it? I don't know. but that's what they should be doing. And my hope is that they went out and ID'd people that they thought were going to be instrumental to that, and they felt that it was the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know what would be an interesting move? And this Graves got me thinking about this with the saying that the AAA manager was coming from internal. I'll be honest, I hadn't heard that. If that's true, though, wouldn't Donnie Kelly be an interesting hire for that? If he wants to eventually become a manager, wouldn't that be a good step for him?
Does he feel he needs it?
I don't know.
That would be my question, does he feel that that's a path he has to take at this point? Or is he content where he is and still thinking he's going to get that opportunity? It's an interesting question.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear his name come up a lot this year with the couple coaching openings.
Right. So kind of heard it with the Mets, but that was pretty much it.
Maybe his plate's cooled off a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, it might do him well. I mean, they say he's a pretty good, bench coach, but as we've discussed several times, we don't really know what a bench coach does. I mean, they make the lineup card and things like that, and they help the manager organize, but there's something different to being the guy pushing the buttons than being the guy pushing the buttons he's being told to push,
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
So it might be an interesting thought there. I wonder if he would consider that a demotion or not. I'm sure it would come with some kind of a suckiness to it going back to the minor leagues, but
right.
At least you get some firsthand experience managing.
Well, he is a Pittsburgh guy, so
yep.
Checks off one of those boxes that I love. So,
well, then forget it, because he doesn't want to leave here. Never mind. That's all there is to it. All right, so the next topic I wanted to bring up today was the CBA. We're not going to talk specifics about it. If it eats games, what I'm wondering, because there's such a glut of free agents out there right now, the floodgates are going to open as soon as this thing gets signed, right? And you'd have to figure we're not coming out of this with teams having less incentive to spend, right? No matter what. Do you think the Pirates could benefit from some panic signings? And what I mean by that is, with this glut of free agents all piled up on a dam and they're all let out at once, some guys might panic if they don't get an offer like on day 1, day 2, day 3. The Pirates get to just swipe somebody that hasn't gotten attention right away. What type of player do you think they should go for? And do you think this is something that could actually happen? We haven't seen something like this in quite some time. Jim, start with you, man.
Man, there's so many factors to it. How long down the road are we here when this happens? If things move in the next month and they get some things situated, I tend to think that would work against that, simply because that gives everyone some time before the season starts and you can still kind of figure things out. Now, where that changes is if we get into any of the season, to me. I think if you are and look, that's
or even enough of the spring that it's clear the spring is now going to push in. Yeah,
correct. I think that's where things could get interesting for a lot of teams. So if we're into, like you said, let's say it's middle of spring training. Let's say we've actually lost some games in April, which I really, really doubt. We've talked about that before. I just don't think they're going to want to lose money to that extent. But if it happens, and let's face it, right now, the sides hate each other as much as they always have. So, I think at that point, a lot of stuff happens very quickly. And as a organization, you better be prepared to ID some guys now or, prior to when this might happen, that you can say, look, this is a guy that I think we can get if we can go and make a strong offer for. That's what I would do. But
no, I mean,
clearly, I don't know in the Pirates. I haven't for a long time. So,
I mean, now, Graves, I'm obviously proposing that the Pirates would take advantage, almost like a man proposing to a drunk woman in Vegas. Your likelihood is more up there if she's desperate, drunk, and alone, right? So I guess that's kind of what I'm hoping would happen with the Pirates is somebody would fall through the cracks, essentially. That isn't a big hot name,
right?
But a nice middle tier guy, someone even as high up as like a Russell Martin was. If you could just grab somebody like that and insert them into your team because they didn't get quick interest.
Right.
What type of player would that be?
And it's a great question, and I like to say never, because it could certainly happen. I don't see like a middle infielder. We've already got a plethora of them. I would have a hard time seeing an outfielder. We're in a pretty decent situation there compared to last year. We've got some names. Maybe a starting pitcher, maybe a backup catcher. Those would be two areas that could be interesting. There's not a whole lot out there regarding catchers, so that might
even
be
a reliever. So even
absolutely. So I mean, it could certainly happen.
That's where I think right there, Gary, you mentioned the reliever aspect of things. There's always some guys out there that I think if you want to be aggressive enough, you can get them signed. It's not going to break the bank, and it would really help. It would really help this team in what is, let's face it, it's another bridge year. So that would improve things immediately and also help down the road depending on how you wanted to treat handling of that player. Should you want to keep him, move him, whatever. So,
well, and I think too with the reliever, especially, you're not looking at signing somebody for 2 or 3 years. A 1-year deal. He can come in, help this staff, help the rotation, help the young guys, and be on his merry way.
I mean, I think they can do 1-year deals regardless of this situation.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm looking for is can they get a nice score that they normally wouldn't have even gotten a crack at because of this situation. And I do think the glut of players all at once, if we lost games, would probably cause something like that a little bit. I think it might cause chronic overspending by some people that don't necessarily know what they need, and they just go out and throw a bunch of crap against the wall and see what sticks.
That worries me. We have seen time and time and time again in baseball, every offseason where like teams are just saying, well, you know what, spending is going to be down and we're not going to do this and that. And then that first day of free agency hits and you're just like, your eyes can't digest the numbers and the money that's getting thrown around. And that seems to happen an awful lot. So, would that change in that scenario? I don't know. A lot of teams are going to have money to spend, and maybe, they're not going to be shy about tossing it around too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to change some things. And anytime there's a weird situation with baseball, I guess my first thought is, how can this make things worse for the Pirates, or how could this make things better? So I figure I'm just going to look at this one from how could this make things better. And I don't think it can make it worse because I think they've signed everybody major they're going to sign. I know Ben Cherington's talked about bringing in another starting pitcher. I think that'll happen regardless here. But let's be honest, this isn't Clayton Kershaw we're getting. We're going to get somebody, along the lines of DeYoung or, best case scenario, Tyler Anderson. So I don't know if we can expect anything better than that, really, regardless of this panic for that position. Yeah,
timing's going to matter a lot, I think. So what are we? We're sitting here beginning of the new year. They've still got plenty of time. No one's blinking yet, so we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, if worst comes to worst, O'Neal Cruz has a big arm, and you don't want to waste it by putting him at first base so they could make him a pitcher. What do you think, Joe?
Man, 6'7".
It's a great idea, right?
Wow.
6'7".
Maybe he's our next Shohei.
Oh man, let's focus on getting into this show first time, and then we'll start messing with them. Let's take another quick break here, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about a much needed resource for this team. All right, we're back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network, and next topic up for debate here is, where are the Pirates going to find home runs next year? It's a problem they have not solved, and we've talked about the different depths at certain positions, and some of it's pretty much unchangeable. Like catching's not going to improve over Perez. That's as good as it's going to get. They're not going to bring in somebody better than him. That's the guy. And short of his 1 year, he didn't hit a lot of home runs. So I'm not gonna get excited and think he's bringing them to the table. I don't think O'Neal Cruz will start in major leagues this year, but I do think he'll provide power when he gets here. Mm-hmm. Where's it coming from? Brian Reynolds upped his ante already. I think you can go into next season penciling in 25 home runs. But where else is it coming from? Is it all on Yoshi's shoulders? I mean, Jim, what do you see when you look at this? Because power has been a big problem here. And I don't think there's a quick solution for it, but they need some home runs.
Indeed, Gary, they do. So like when this topic came up, and obviously what I love to do is like, okay, we got a topic. Let me go dive into some things and look at things, right? Because we know it's bad. How bad is it?
Bad.
Well, it's bad. We're talking about a team last year in that version that was dead last in the majors in home runs.
Right.
And I think 124 home runs. So I hate to, bring up this past season and some of the really bad stuff, but and just to give you a little perspective, the Blue Jays, which our buddy Steve, he would be very happy to jump in on this one, but led the majors with 267 home runs. Wow. Or 265, somewhere in that range. So
Which is crazy.
I mean, that's that, but that's the gap, right? We're talking from last to first, over double the amount of home runs almost. So they have their work cut out for them. Now, more interesting is that out of those 124 home runs, about 50 to 60 of those home runs, depending on who you want to count and how you want to count it, those are gone.
Yep.
From the major league roster right now. So now we're really scrambling, guys. So when you asked about how much Yoshi's going to have to carry, well, I can tell you that he's going to get a lot of opportunities. I don't know if he can.
He ain't going to hit 168 of them.
No, but he's going to get every opportunity to hit them, because guess what? There's not many guys that they have that can. Brian Hayes will get a chance, obviously, to improve on his power numbers. But to be quite honest, that's the last of my concerns with him. I'd rather him just keep developing into a well-rounded hitter. But they've got some issues.
Yeah, to me, it's probably I'm even more scary than the pitching, which maybe we'll touch on that too. But the home runs in particular, they got to come from somewhere, and Yoshi can hit them. He's got power for days. I mean, I have no problem thinking that if he plays enough, 100 or 25 home runs is doable for him. And you got Reynolds. I'm pretty sure he can do that again as well. Hayes, I don't even know. 10, 15, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from? Michael Chavis?
I mean,
it's hard. It's hard to find them.
It is
it's hard even if you look in the minors. Even if you look in the minors, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I can look at the roster right now and pretty much assume that Reynolds and Yoshi will have double figures. I could probably throw in Brian Hayes, double figures and home runs. Other than that, there's really not, because we don't know how much we're going to see O'Neal Cruz or Michael Chavis or, Mason Martin for that, But one thing that really stuck out to me is looking at the numbers from last year. And when you remove Polanco and Moran and Stallings, who's in there at number 4 with the most home runs? Michael Perez at number 7.
Mm-hmm. Well, he'll probably be on the team again.
So as pitiful as he was with his 43 batting average, he hit 7 home runs last year for the 4th best when you move those other guys out. So
and when you go down that list even further, you start running into Phillip Evans and it doesn't take long to get there, sadly.
No, it doesn't.
Jacob Stallings was there. It's not a good situation at all.
It's not. And I've always kind of been of the belief of, the power, it will come. It will come. I would much rather see the guys, take the ball opposite field, just kind of, keep the runners moving, be aggressive those way, get those doubles, go first to third, and get those runs that way and create runs by just hitting the ball all around. And if you run into one, then you run into one. But if you're going to the plate with the plan of I'm going to hit a 3-run homer with the bases empty, you don't have a very good chance. So I think you have to have the mindset, and you have to know what the situation is and take advantage of just, moving the runners along and advancing them and worry about the home runs a little bit later.
Well, that's a good point, because the team, while it did lose some power, it got faster too, I think. It's hard to say that when Gregory Polanco was by far the best base stealer on the team. But, base to base, he wasn't really fleet of foot. So, I mean, there's a decent amount of base speed that I think they're going to probably improve with a little bit. And getting a little younger as well in certain spots will help with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to have to say that's good enough, because the power is just not there. Like you talked about, you look down in AAA right now. I'm not saying there's not power and potential in players like Cannon Smith and Jigba or Jack Sawinski or Mason Martin, O'Neal Cruz. It's just a lot to ask a rookie to come up here and hit, 15, 20 home runs.
Right.
It's very difficult. Rodolfo Castro's got a lot of power potential too. It's not like it's not there. It's just maybe not quite developed yet. And I think it's a lot to ask. It's definitely stark, though, when you watch a team like the White Sox, where everybody 1 through 9 could rope one out at any given time. And then you watch the Pirates and the way that they approach the plate. They look like they're trying to do that. You're right. They do need to be moving guys along better. Is Andy Haynes the right guy for that, though, Jim? Because that's not what I saw Milwaukee play like.
Yeah, when we first brought up him on the podcast when he was hired, the first thing you do is you go and look to see where someone's coming from and whatever. And I mean, I think I joked about it at the time. Look at how the Milwaukee Brewers are built, and I'm not talking from an organizational standpoint. I'm talking about physical builds of players. They come from the Matt Stairs looking type guy, which is big fella, likes to swing. They like to hit their home runs. Yeah, it was an interesting pairing. So it's a good point, Gary.
It is, and I think you guys touched on it before, and like I said in a previous podcast, how much is it really his philosophy? It's probably Derek Shelton's, and he's just kind of the man brought in to relay the message. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. I've mentioned a few times on Twitter, heck, bring in Dan Vogelbach, let him be our DH, and just let him launch some home runs. He's that perfect big beefy guy too that the Brewers usually love. So bring him in. And
we love guys like that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. We love that. Like, that's why we're all such John Daly fans. That bigger guy that can still play sports. The Bus was like that too. Yeah, he was built like a bowling ball. I loved watching him play though. We might as well just dive in on pitching because, I think we've kind of deciphered the power just ain't coming this year. No. So if you go to the pitching staff, you start looking at the starters. I guess, where are the innings coming from this year? Is it going to be all starting, or are we going to continue to see this 5-6 innings is the max type thing that we came to know and love last year and blame Shelton for and hate him and all that for messing up the pitching staff because he doesn't know what he's doing and he should be fired immediately?
I think the more I look at things, big picture, I think you will start to view it in the sense that I don't think they're going to try to pile innings on guys again this year. I really don't. I think that's the reason they've accumulated the number of arms they have. I think that's why you're going to see the guys that don't cut it as quote-unquote starters, you're going to see them still have very active roles if they're healthy and not just complete disasters. I think they're still going to try to buy themselves some time with that. I do not think you're going to see anybody that they care about remotely as far as being any type of a piece here in about 2 years. I just don't see it. I just do not see them putting the mileage on him.
That's just about everyone but Quintana, realistically.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's the way they treated Tyler Anderson last year, so it's founded in a realistic way that they handled it last year.
Yeah, right. I mean, and if you're not close yet, close, well, what's the sense? And, I hate to bring the Steelers into this, but it's Pittsburgh, so let's just do it. There's some parallels here, I think, with the Najee Harris thing right now is man, do you want to put a ton of miles on guys and a ton of abuse on a guy and then do that for the next year, 2 years, and then maybe have him for some time when you're good? I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily a great thing. Is it a perfect comparison? No, but I think there's some parallels there where it's about protecting your assets and managing them correctly. And I think if you look at how that played out this year with the Steelers, I don't think that worked out so well. So I think it matters in other sports too.
Well, devil's advocate here, Graves, because I hear what Jim's saying. I don't disagree that that's a very real possibility this year, but we talk about the potential starters and for that matter, who from that group is going to wind up in the bullpen. I don't know that limiting innings is a way I would go right now, because I think you're really at this point trying to decipher who is and isn't a guy that you actually really care about, as Jim was saying.
Right.
In other words, I need you to prove to me that I should care that you're healthy in 5 years, and this is when you start doing it.
Absolutely. And I think one thing, too, that's going to be important is this new CBA. If we're well into spring training and they're having to rush spring training and they've got 3 weeks to get ready, I could see maybe a little bit of what we saw last year. But
it's a terrific point.
But I'm actually. I would have to look at the numbers, but it felt like almost every night the guys were struggling to go 3 or 4 innings. So, I mean,
Right.
when I hear you talk about, hey, if maybe they can go 5 or 6, that actually sounds pretty damn good. I'd take that at this point, honestly.
It does.
Give me 5 or 6 innings of your best baseball. Go out there every 5 days, every 6 days, and give me the best. So I think it's all part of the development as well. And yeah, we need to see who we've got. And like I Jose Quintana, I'm content with that. They brought in a veteran, but I would much rather them go with the younger guys and see what we have and make them prove their worth and show what they've got for this organization moving forward.
That's true. And Quintana is a guy too that, he hasn't pitched a lot in the last couple of years.
Right.
So in many ways, he's having his 2021 next year, where he's got to get himself re-stretched out. Now, the difference is he's got, an over a decade-long career to back that up with and knows how to do it, ideally. But Jim, what was the purpose of stretching JT Brubaker out and having him pitch with dead arm for a month and a half if they're not going to let him really stretch himself out this year, right? I mean, the expectation would be you're going to build on what we created last year.
Yeah, I mean, and look, let me clarify. I don't want to see it to the extremes that we've seen it, okay? What I am saying is that I understand why if we can get to that 5 and 6 inning range, I'm fine with that. Now, if you've got a guy that seems to be pushing for more and you want to take a look at that and see how they respond in certain situations, no issue with that. Yeah. I just don't see it as big of a deal as it used to be in baseball. The way pitching staffs are managed anymore. And certainly with a team like the Pirates who, let's be real honest, I mean, they're probably going to have to at some point, even if these pitchers hit, they're going to have a real good bullpen still. I mean, to the point where it is supplementing things to help out, because we're not going to be, I mean, unless they Sherrington and company just absolutely knock it out of the park with starting pitching, we're going to have to fill that in along the way with other things more than other teams have had to do. Because I just don't see us running 4 and 5 guys out there at any point and just dominating it from a starting pitching standpoint. That's just just being realistic.
I appreciate you being realistic. That's why you're here.
Because even if teams are going to do, and they've developed 2 or 3 starters, and they're studs, and then they go out and supplement with a big name free agent or 2. I mean, that's not going to be what the Pirates do. So they're going to have to still build it another way.
Yeah, they're always going to need their target set a little higher. Their goal can't be to develop a really good starting 5. They need to develop a really good starting 7 or 8.
Right.
Because they need to insulate themselves from injury. And, again, as you like to always say, let's be real honest here. Let's be real honest. That's not an easy thing to do. That's just not. I think that I can identify about 6 or 7 guys that I really, really want to see this year and really believe in. I really believe in them. Quintana's not one of them.
Right.
I'm down on him, to be honest. I'm not as ecstatic about the signing as even Baseball America appears to be. Fan grabs.
Maybe that was the panic signing that we were talking about earlier. So
maybe, but I legitimately want to see what Wilson can do this year. I want to see if Thompson is real. I want to see JT Brubaker. I want to see Rowanzi Contreras. I want to see Miguel Yajure. I'd like to see Max Kranick. I'd like to see a little bit more of Will Crow. I think there's some good options there that I really want to get eyes on, and I really want to watch develop a little bit more. And there's no substitution for doing it. And they need to just start sending them out there and trotting them out there and playing them. Right now, it may be an unpopular opinion. I would not recommend getting another free agent starter unless he's absolutely nailed on going to be the best pitcher in the rotation. Mm-hmm. If he's not, don't do it. Don't bother.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
No, I mean, unless you're talking some type of multi-year deal for a guy that the Pirates are probably not going to be in the market for, of course. And bringing it back to one other thing you said, Gary, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, when you talk about a guy like Quintana, look, he's had some success. But he's also had some health problems, and with pitching and arms, and when guys are struggling to stay healthy, I just think it's a mistake for fans or anybody that gets too carried away when they're blogging. It's another story all entirely, but not you, by the way, Gary. Let's temper our expectations there, because there's a reason that Quintana was available to the Pirates. Let's be here we go. Let's be honest again. So anyway,
it's true. No, it's true, and I just think we shouldn't put a lot of hopes on that.
Right.
But at the same time, I understand his contract came with a brand new Maytag dishwasher, so he probably won't slice his finger open again washing dishes. But regardless, you can't expect an older veteran like that to come in and stay healthy the entire season. We just saw this with Trevor Cahill last year.
Right.
It's somebody that's going to need supplemented. That's going to provide a spot for somebody like Rowanzi Contreras or Cody Bolton, who's starting to throw again, or somebody along those lines. And they definitely need to start making some calls on these guys. Cody Bolton's going to be, I think, 26, 27. Got to get him up here, Yeah. And it's not their fault that he got hurt last year, but these are guys they need to start funneling through, because pretty soon Quinn Priester's going to be running up their can.
Let's hope.
But you got to be ready for that.
Right.
You got to at least know what you got before you're starting to worry about your real studs coming along and pushing them out of the way.
Yep.
You mentioned Crow, and not the most exciting guy in the world, but let's look at it this way. If he is somebody that they are now talking about in a different role, maybe when after spring training comes along and they see him in a some sort of a middle reliever type role, I think that'd be great news, because that means some good things are happening.
It means they've made a decision too.
Right.
Right. And typically if they've made that decision, it's because someone else has, stepped up.
Exactly.
So he's the perfect guy, in my opinion, that you could keep your eye on if we still hear a lot about Will Crow, or more than we want to. It's a little telling at first, and then we'll see where it goes.
He's a guy too that if he's the worst member of your rotation, you're probably a little better than you were. That I think that's kind of a good place to leave it, because I think a lot of 2022 is going to wind up being measuring things against where we were, and I think we're going to come out of it feeling we're a little better than where we were. I really think that's kind of what 2022 is going to feel like. And I think it's going to lead into an exciting 2023 where things are really starting to pick up. So that's good stuff. But hey, it's New Year's Eve. We should probably tell everybody to celebrate safely tonight. We tried to not be depressing in the show today because we didn't want to give anyone additional reasons to drink. You should be drinking for fun reasons tonight. Go out and do that. I'll do my sign-off stuff in a little bit here, but just one last thing from me here before we move it along. I just want to thank Ben Roethlisberger for all the years and just being a terrific starting quarterback in this league for the better part of 2 decades. I don't think most people realize how fortunate they are to have somebody play that many years in this day and age on the same team in their city and be pretty damn consistently good too. So thank you, Ben, and not that you're watching the Pirates Fan Forum, but
you should be.
You. Graves, how do people get a hold of you, my friend?
All right. Well, I am Voice from the Graves. You can find me on Twitter at KG_55VFTG. Give me a follow. I love to talk Pirates baseball in general, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again very soon.
All right, Jim. Parting shots for you, sir.
Yeah, man, listen, I could care less about how you reach me. It's for the city _412. Let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger for one more second, because Gary, you get me going, dude. Man, you can't do that. Listen, Ben said recently, all he wants to do is be remembered as someone who gave it everything he had. And man, I don't know how you can watch that dude on a football field for almost the last 20 years. And you want to talk about a guy that has physically sacrificed his body to play the game of football. And he's paid the price for it physically. And the last couple of years, it started to show. But there's a reason for that. And dude was an absolute warrior on the football field. And in Pittsburgh, I don't know how that doesn't go appreciated, because, man, incredible watching him. That's all I can say.
He was a beast. So on January 22nd, just in case you haven't heard in a while, because we've been away for a couple weeks, we're doing a live show, live Pirates Fan Forum over at the North Shore Tavern, right across from PNC Park at 2 o'clock. And we'd really like to have as many of you come out and join us in person as possible, COVID permitting, of course. And if not, it'll be a live event on YouTube. Still participate there. We're going to be answering and addressing your questions there, giving you a chance to speak up about your baseball team. And that's really what it's all about. We want to hear stories, just get together and have a good time. So join us on the 22nd of January there. Follow us, subscribe, do all this stuff, at Pirates Fan Forum on Twitter, all the stuff that everybody wants you to do all the time. And really appreciate having you around, and Happy New Year, everybody. It's going to be a much better year next year, I promise, unless it doesn't, and then I didn't say this, and Eddie put it in digital. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Ben, take it away.
Yes, your butt.